Some of these teams are getting absolutely screwed by the schedule that the NFL just put out, and it could be the difference between making the playoffs and spending January in Cancun. But these graphics, they aren't right. And you can't listen to the analysts on Twitter for this one either, because I analyzed the data for every game for the last 15 years, and frankly, they've got it wrong. There's two angles that people are looking at this from. The first is net rest differential. Basically, how much more rest do you have before your game than your opponent? For example, let's say you're playing on Sunday, and your last game was the Sunday before, but the team that you're playing, their last game was Thursday night, meaning that they have 1, 2, 3 extra days of rest in you. That makes their rest differential +3 and yours -3. So tally that up over the whole season and you get this, which is very misleading. The other way people are looking at this is total distance travel. Pretty simple. How many miles do you have to travel to get to your games throughout the season? The theory is that longer travel is harder on these guys' bodies. They get less rest, they don't recover as well, so they play worse. The problem is that the data says this all isn't true. So why are these wrong? I looked at every game since 2011 and analyzed the impact that rest differential had. And after my analysis, here's what I found. Basically, the only thing that matters is if one team has a 6-day or more rest advantage going into the game. 1 to 2 days, there's actually a slight disadvantage, but I think that's more noise. And then the 3 to 5 days, so that's coming off of the Thursday night game. Some people call it the mini bye. That doesn't matter either. So these games, which normally come after a bye week, are the only ones that we need to worry about. So here's what we get. Pretty much every team has one game with a big rest advantage, and that's because everyone's got a bye week, so after the bye week, you get that. Now, some teams you'll see don't have any, and that just means that we have two teams coming off the bye week at the same time playing each other. You'll see there's a bunch of teams down here who have the huge advantage of never playing a team coming off their bye week all season long. And then you have the teams up here who are getting totally screwed playing teams coming off their bye week multiple times. Let's pivot back to this, which is also completely irrelevant. A big part of these miles can be international games for some teams, but for international games, no team gets an advantage because both teams are traveling the really long distance. But even if we look at just domestic games where only one team has to travel, we realize that not all travel is the same. I found some great analysis where they basically learned that the only travel that really matters is when a team is going from west to east and they're moving by 2 time zones or more. And they actually found that this has a pretty big negative impact on winning percentage, with the theory being that this west to east move means that due to the time change, you have to wake up earlier and therefore are less rested. So I mapped out every game and here's what we got. For obvious reasons, teams that live on the West Coast are getting screwed because to travel from west to east, well, you've got to start in the west. But the Chargers and the Raiders are extra screwed because they are the away team for more of their games where they're playing against East Coast teams. And then conversely, our East Coast teams plus the Chiefs get the massive benefit of having to play these West Coast teams when they're coming to their home turf. So I combined what I learned about rest differentials and travel advantages to create what I like to call the ultimate graph of total screwage due to the NFL schedule. So we can see that teams like the Chargers, Raiders, and Rams are getting totally screwed by the schedule, but teams like the Chiefs, Patriots, and Commanders are getting a lot of good schedule luck. The NFL has been claiming for years that this kind of stuff doesn't really matter that much, but they know that it does. These disparities are a result of the NFL just getting greedy and wanting more international, primetime, and holiday games. Organizing a fair schedule while maximizing viewership and ratings is pretty much impossible, and some teams are getting screwed by it.